Hi, so having just had an online consult with one of my circus performers, I want to bring you a knee release and a few tips to kind of help you if you're struggling following either a long-term knee injury or something that's still bothering you after years post-surgery potentially, or skiing accident, that sort of thing. So high-level knee issues that you can do to help yourself. So quite often there becomes a dysfunction behind the knee. You can struggle with some lymphatic drainage, so you get that kind of swelling behind the knee and it feels quite puffy, and perhaps you can't quite get flexion, so a full bend in your knee, or it can actually feel really unstable and feel like it just doesn't feel like your knee, even though all the tests show that it's a nice stable joint. So if you're struggling with this and you're really struggling with any high level function, particularly if you've just taken up running with the coronavirus and you're charging round your local park, trying to keep yourself fit, and you're noticing that you're getting knee issues, this could also be good for you, especially if you're experiencing the kind of classic runner's knee, any kind of tightness coming down the outside. That can also help. The key with knees is to make sure that you've got variability, which sounds strange. You might think that you want control in the joint, but actually it's more about being able to apply any strategy that you want to your knee and feel perfectly comfortable with it. So I've got my trusty Peanut here, and I'm going to show you a few techniques that you can do by yourself so that you don't need a physio. So if you come onto your mat, and we're going to start off by rolling out the hamstrings. So the Peanut is under your thigh there, and you're just coming over the Peanut. So you're using your hands as leverage, and you're just rolling up and down the hamstring. Hamstring's a really good place to start. Rolling through. And then make sure that you get right down behind the knee, so the hamstrings actually cross over the back of the knee. So you want to go right over the back. The good thing about Peanut is it leaves that space in the middle so that you don't press into the fleshy part at the back of the knee where that swelling can collect, and also you've got quite a few nerves and blood supply that runs through there, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure behind there, but you do want either side of the knee. You then want to go down into the top of the calf, so you're really rolling out into the top of the calf, and you can slightly turn your foot in and get the bottom of the hamstring, the inside hamstring, your semi-membranosus, semi-tendinosus on the back of the thigh. And then you can cross over so that you're, and I'm just going to come down the mat again so I don't disappear, and you're trying to get the inside of the calf there. So right into your medial gastroc, so the inside calf muscle, and even down into your soleus, so right into the belly of the calf. You can have a really nasty trigger point into your soleus, which is your power muscle in your calf. So then turning out, so we want to then come into the lateral gastroc, so just rolling through the outside, and just be careful that you don't get any nervy symptoms as you're doing it, because you can press a little bit onto the nerve that wraps round the fibula head, so that bony bit at the top, so you don't want to cause any nervy symptoms that you didn't have before. Okay, and outside of the hamstrings, and we're now starting to get into the ITB there. You've probably heard of the ITB as the band of fascia that runs down the side of your leg, and you're thinking, right, I've been for a run, I'm going to roll the hell out of it. But actually, it's not a contractile muscle, so you actually want to roll into the outside quad and the outside hamstring, which connect in to that fascial band, and make sure that you're rolling through those muscles all the way from hip to knee, and then turning onto your pocket muscle, okay, your TFL, which lies at the top of your ITB. And if that is contracted in that semi contracted state and has a few trigger points in there and is permanently on or half on, you're going to get some real trigger points in there, and it's not going to feel very nice, it's going to feel tight, and you really want to try and loosen that off in order to get the release through your ITB. So you're not actually directly pressing on your ITB, you're releasing everything off around it. Now, I should mention that your glute max then comes into play. So you want to come into your buttock muscle and just roll it as it inserts into your ITB. So it kind of comes round and joins into your ITB at the very top. So it's just behind your thigh bone and just under your hip bone. So if I were to feel through, that's where my hip is and that's where the peanut is. Okay, so we're just, and there's my joint line. So we're just below the hip joint line and coming into there. Okay, so once we've got all of those, it's also important to try, if you can, to release off through your adductors. So if you have a foam roller, that can be really useful. Or you can start to roll down into where the knee joint is. So I'm rolling into my adductor. It's a hard one to release into, and obviously it's dependent on the range you have available at your hips. So you can imagine if you've got a foam roller, you'll be further off the floor and so more able to release off into that adductor there. Or you can grab a tennis ball or a peanut and roll it under the palm of your hand. Okay, so if you then come in to look at the release around your superior tib-fib joint, so where your fibula, the little bone down the side, meets your shin bone, you have a little gliding sliding joint. So it should have a little bit of movement, but not a huge amount. But if you've ever twisted your knee or sprained your ankle or both, then you're probably going to have a bit more play in those joints, so they're going to move a little bit more. But when you have a bit more play, the muscles lock up, and then you end up with stiff joints which don't feel natural to your body, and they prevent your rotation of your knee and your ankle. So starting to get into your tibialis anterior, which is the muscle down the shin bone, can really release off all of those through both of those joints, both the superior and the inferior joint, the top and the bottom. Okay, so releasing off there. You're also, with your thumb, going into the lateral gastrocs there, so you're really releasing off either side of your fibula there. So we're taking away all the muscular spasms that occur around that fibula that runs down the side and creates that ankle bone there and that knobbly bit there. A way of testing is to see if you've got the same amount of internal rotation left to right, and making sure that you're kind of fixing at the knee and turning at the ankle, because you want to try and get the the mobility of those joints going in and out, and you want to be able to get the same amount of internal rotation left to right and the same amount of external rotation left to right. And you might find that you've got more external rotation and less internal rotation. So we're just trying to correct that so that you've got the whole spectrum of variability of range available at your knees and at your ankles. So that's a quick fire way to loosen off through those joints and loosen off through those hamstrings. We need to do the quads, so going onto your tummy and going in and releasing off through the one leg. And I'm just going to do the left leg today, but if you want to replay the video and then just do it on the other leg. So if you want to be more evenly released, that's fully understandable. So once you get the peanut into a nice juicy point on the quad, then you want to start to bring the heel up towards the bottom. So you're really elongating the tissue. So create a lock using the peanut and bring your heel towards your bottom. Create a lock, bring your heel towards your bottom. Create a lock. And I can feel that quite strongly going through my inside quad actually. So the peanut is nice and evenly distributed across the quad, but you can move it lateral and medial on your quad if you've got more quads bulk to deal with, and that will create a lock, and you can do one side and then the other. So that should feel now nice and free through the quads, through the hamstrings, through the calf complex, and through into rotation each way. So some really nice exercises to start to make sure that you've got that rotational stability. If we start at the hip and then work down through the knee to the ankle. So we're going to go into an arabesque. Okay, so you're putting your weight forward and you're going to open all the way with your hips and then close all the way and then beyond it. So if I show you from front on, you're going to open from the hips and then you're going to go all the way to neutral and beyond it. Okay, I'm using the back leg to stabilise. Go all the way. See, that's where you need the back leg to stabilise and beyond it. So I'm really opening up through TFL, glute med and min, and then using them to open me back up. So you're really getting that rotational stability. I suggest if you're working for more stability, you either do it for time, so you're working towards 30 seconds to a minute of those exercises, or you're working to try and do more repetitions. However, you want to try and work on quality of the movement. So I'm reluctant to say, right, you need to do 3 lots of 20 of those, or 2 lots of 30 to try and get a lot of load and practice into your body. It's more about quality. So I'd work for a time frame and just build up your ability to do it. Okay, so we're then going to go into the knee. I'll just grab my band. So I'm going to hook the band around something in front of me, and I'm going to, if I show you from this side, I'm going to slightly flex the knee and then pull back into a straight position. Slightly flex the knee and pull back into a straight position. What you'll notice in that is you're just getting a lock to unlock going on. So it just helps you with that rotational element. Okay, obviously if you've just had recent surgery to cartilage, I'd avoid anything that involves locking, unlocking and rotation right now. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my complete hoop to work on some ankle rotational stability. So exactly the same principle, we're doing a quick hip, knee, ankle, and there are more conditioning exercises you can do, and I will do that in a separate video so that we can start to work on hamstring strength, quad strength, that sort of thing. So you hook the band around your foot, we're taking the foot to the side, and we're then going to just ease in and out of a single leg squat with stability. So it's kind of like a split squat. Okay, so it's creating that pressure through, and we're quite low with the band because I want it over your talus, which is the sandwich bone in your ankle. So coming in and out of that. Okay, then you take the foot to the back and do the same again. So I'm going to show you side on what both of those look like. So the first one, I have my foot to the side and I was just going into that split squat, side squat, and then to the back. And you might get some clicking and clunking if you've had an ankle sprain, or particularly a high ankle sprain, which involves your tib-fib joint. Okay, so following that, you should find that your ankle feels nice and loose, and when you retest, keep your knees stuck together, so we're just working below the knee, and that you're getting fairly equal in and out movements of your ankle. If you're also struggling with your knee bend, after you've started to flush the lymph from the back of the knee, so the Wim Hof method, or hot and cold showers, or a hot shower in the morning followed by 30 seconds of cold at the end, dunking your feet in cold water, whatever it is you're doing to try and get that venous return and also that lymphatic drainage. The other thing you can do is massage up towards the heart, particularly at the back of the knee, to try and reduce the swelling, and then you can start to work on your flexion. Another one's body brushing as well, so if you don't know what that is, Google it and you'll soon find that you can get a brush that you can use in the shower just to get that lymphatic drainage. So we're going to work on getting the bend back in your knee, which is absolutely crucial, and lots of people are really scared of doing this, especially after cartilage injuries, but once you're out of the woods, then there's no reason why you shouldn't return to full function, and I'm sure your surgeon would agree. So we're easing into full flexion. You can start with a cushion and just trying to sit on your hips, on your feet, sorry, and then ease into no cushion. The other thing you can do is you can start to walk your hands back. You can start to put a bend into your elbows. The main thing being that you've got your pelvis tucked, your belly button in, so that you're really supporting that movement and you're not just getting it from your back and sticking your tummy out. So it's all about trying to ease into your quad stretch. If you're feeling really, really confident with it, and you always want your knees to be nice and close together, if you're feeling really confident, you can actually take your feet to the side of your hips and work through it there. But it depends how comfortable you feel through the knee joint with a little bit of rotation on it. This is one I'd probably avoid if you have had a cartilage issue, because you're just cranking up the rotation on your knees. Having said that, I have had cartilage issues and I have no issues with this. So knees together, ankles either side, and you're starting to try and get back into what's known as the hero pose in yoga. So we're just keeping the belly button tucked in though. So unlike yoga, we're not aiming for that back bend, we're working at it more from an athletic level. So working back, and if you want to, you can have a lie down there and really try and tuck through your pelvis to keep that engaged. And when you get really comfortable, you're aiming to try and get into this position, but trying to work on getting your belly button in, okay? So you're taking it out of your lower back. You can then start to press your feet into the floor. So I'm pushing through the tops of my feet downwards into the floor as if I'm straightening out my leg, and then releasing and going further into it. I'm then trying to press my knees down into the floor and then releasing the tension and trying to relax into the stretch. So it's always as if you're trying to actively work. So I'm pressing through the top of my foot, or I'm pressing down through the top of my knee to try and get that exaggerated stretch through a contract, relax. What happens after you get that contraction? You're trying to get the contraction through the muscle, following it with a release of the tissue. So you should find that you get more of a stretch with that technique. You can also do the same into your hamstrings. So just coming up, pulling back into the band and release it further. Pulling back into the band and release it further. Pulling back into the band and releasing further to try and get more out of your hamstrings there. As I say, you can do it both sides by redoing this video and concentrating on the other leg. The last thing that I want to cover with you is working on your adductors and your inside hamstrings, that you can also work into without a band, although this will come into my strength or more conditioning aspect of rehab, which will appear in another video. But if you're going onto your back and you're just testing yourself with your good leg, so in this case my right leg, taking it out to the side and really trying to pull up through with your heel, leading with your heel from an outside position. And we're just doing the same on the other leg and just checking that they're nice and even through each side. It also comes into lower back issues, so it's kind of difficult to differentiate without seeing a physio, but it might be a nice one to try to check that your inside hamstrings are working and that your adductors are working. So now that we've done all of those things, you probably want to watch the conditioning video to work on that, but hopefully you're feeling much looser through your ankle, knee and hip to enable you to head out for your run, or to recover in kind of the final stages of your rehab, where you're just working back into that rotational stability stuff. Okay, hope you've enjoyed the video, and please make any requests or comments, anything that you would like to see, either below or on Facebook or Instagram. And I'm really open to your feedback. and would love to know what you'd like to see, what you need to know. If you've got any injuries that you either need a one-to-one appointment online with me during this period, or you would like a video on it. So just let me know. Okay, goodbye.